Alright, there's going to be a semi-complete dash removal. So to start off, to take any of this off, at least on this side, gotta take off the glove box. For the glove box, basically got it connected by these two notches. It's these. So to do the first one, which is this one, you take a flat head and you turn it counterclockwise. So it would be the opposite of what it normally is because it's a reverse thread. You just rotate it a little bit and it just pops out. You pull it out. Good stuff. For the other one, it is clipped in. So basically it's through here and it's snapped in. And it's notched into that thing. So you gotta kind of wrestle it to get it out. And then it's also connected by a screw over here. So it's right here. You just gotta take it off. And then to actually take the whole thing off, because that's the thing that keeps it from going all the way down, right? But to actually take it off, it's, you can see there's 4 little notches there, and they are connected by these hinges. So you gotta take off just 4 quick screws, and this comes off. Now to take off the center console, I already have it off, it's on my roof. It is basically 2 bolts right here, so you gotta pop off the trim and kind of wiggle it in there. You'll see what I mean. And then to take it off completely, you have to go into the little storage compartment, use a flathead, pop open that little pocket at the bottom, and then I believe it's 2 screws that's connected to the whole thing. And then from the back, you should be able to gently, holding it from the back and the front, you slide it from the back and it kind of just pops out. So that's the end of that. I haven't had this stuff in for a while, so you're going to want to take out the stereo and all the goods surrounding this area, obviously. Now, we got to move on to taking off this. Now, to get to this, you got to remove that piece, because you can't really get under it. You got to get under it. There's a piece right there that keeps it in. I'll show a picture. But yeah, to do this piece, I am not entirely done doing it, so give me 1 second. And then you do gotta pop out the cigarette holder. Now to do that, you just open it and then kind of pull it out like that because you don't want to crack it. And then there's a screw under there, so you gotta just unscrew that. Alright, so I've not taken it off completely, but I could get the middle part off because I realized I could pull this down enough and fit my small screwdriver in there and unscrew this. Alright, and then under the dash here, another clip is right in the center of the screen. It's not wanting to focus, but yeah, it's right there. You gotta kind of, I think I'm either gonna stick a flathead in there or I'm just gonna try to pull it, because these 4 I was able to pull, but yeah. Alright, so I did push that one clip down a tiny bit with the screwdriver, so I should just be able to pop it off. Let's see if I can do it with the other side. Alright, and to get this side out, I kind of had to, it did not want to come out because that clip was stubborn, so I kind of had to like wiggle it around a little bit. So as you can see, it scratched it a little bit, no big deal. However, the clip is still inside, so I do have to quickly take that out. But now we can see that the only bolt left on this middle part is this screw right here. Alright, so I got that screw off, but I forgot to mention there are 4 screws to deal with. So there's one over here, other side right here. These sides, I got them all off. This one's all off. I just have this one left. Alright, once you have all 4 of those inside screws out, now you can pretty much just take it off. So now that that's off, now we get to start working on all the stuff up here. So let's start with this whole area. Let's take care of the gauge cluster as well as the switches, buttons, and knobs. So to do this, first there are 2 bolts here. You gotta pry these open, pry this one open, pry this one open. So all of them have little tabs right here where you basically take a flathead and you kind of pry it. Once you pull it out, there is something you gotta disconnect, and it's going to be the same for these ones. Now, I don't have this connected because I did take away my cruise control, but it's going to be the same as all the other ones. Alright, so once you take them out, as you'll see, there's a screw there, as well as one right here. So you technically don't need to take this out except to disconnect it. So you can actually pop that right back in if you want to. But you gotta take this screw out, so let's do that really quick. Alright, now let's handle these 2 screws, and we're basically halfway there. Alright, so I decided before I continue to take all this off, I think I'm going to drop the steering area. So I got the bolts here, and I think there's some back here. Yeah, I gotta take care of that bracket, and I think I'll have to disconnect the wiring, get that one back there, as well as the other one on this side, I think. Alright, so I found out that the ones back here are 14s, so I'm gonna take care of that and we'll come back. Alright, so I got it out from under and it did end up being 14s, so. Alright, so before I do the other 2, I am going to take this little plate off, and it looks like it's 4 10s, so let's do that really quick. Alright, so to take this off, there are some notches at the end, as you can see, and it keeps them in place basically. So you kind of have to pull and yank and just, you know, be careful. But it's metal, so it's not gonna snap. Now that that's out of the way, there's a lot more space to work with. Let's get back to those 2 bolts. Alright, so I'm holding this up. Now the reason I'm holding this up is because once you have those 2 top bolts off, this whole thing, it just kind of drops. So obviously you gotta be careful and disconnect all the rest of the cables, and then we can continue on. Right, now for all the controls, you basically, as you can see, it's kind of like little pop-up, not clips, but little areas that stick out, and you hold it from here and kind of pull it out like that. Under, it's kind of like the same thing, obviously, and you kind of nice and easy kind of try to pull it out enough to deal with all these wires. Well, this part is self-explanatory, but you pull it out enough to disconnect them. Alright, so there's one final thing you have to do before this whole thing gets removed, and that is AC. So this AC knob right here, it controls all of this stuff, you know. So you want to pull this all the way out. You want to take it off from here. And then, so on the back side, there's a screw right here, and it keeps this cable in place. So after you've disconnected it from here, you just have to unscrew that cable, and then you should be able to pop this out. Alright, now with all of the controls off, it is time to get to the gauge cluster. So, the cluster has 4 bolts, or screws, so one right there, one right there, one right here, and one right there. So, let's get those out and then yank this off. Alright, with all the screws taken care of, let's pull this thing out enough to where we can get to the wires back there. Okay, so once you got it all unscrewed, you want to just basically tilt it down, and there's 3 connectors, and you basically just want to pop it out, and now you're ready to just pull it off. Okay, so the last remaining stuff to take off the dash is to pry open these vents with a flathead. Obviously be careful because it's notched. There's a bolt back there. I'm going to assume it's a 10, and the same thing on the other side. Alright, I lied. So instead of prying it open towards you, you want to go away from you because the clip is right here and you don't want to snap it off like that. Alright, now it's onto the airbag. I know there's 5 to do. Not exactly sure of the locations of all of them. I know there's one right there to deal with, as well as connectors. So I'm going to take care of these connectors right there, as well as this one, and then I'll find the other locations. Alright, so I got that one unbolted, as well as this. The 2 connectors here, as well as this connector. Now I gotta look for the other 3. Completely forgot, but please make sure to label all of your connectors to save the hassle later of forgetting what goes where. Let's get onto the airbag. Alright, so the next ones you're gonna want to do is that one right there, as well as the one right here. Now those are gonna be 10mm. Alright, now that we got those 2 out, it's time to get the last one, which is... Now I believe the last one is the one that is right there. Alright, so as you can see, I moved it up a little bit, but because of the weight and how long it has been sitting here, you know, sealed up, it did not want to budge. So I took my breaker bar and underneath lifted up the dash a little bit and kind of pried it from right here just to get it to pop up a little bit. And then I put one hand on one corner, one hand on the other corner, and kind of pried it up. So let's get this thing out. Alright, so I got the airbag out. Now we just have to take the dash out. So the last few steps would be to disconnect all the connectors, you know, like the ones down here, as well as any wires that are in the way and connected, like these ones up here. And let's get this dash out. Alright, completely forgot, but under the dash we have this connector to take off, as well as another one stopping you. You gotta take care of all of these, as well as this one. Now, because this one is in the way of this one, and I made the mistake, it's gonna be very hard for me to get this out. But yeah, just take these off and remember to disconnect everything. Alright, so I got the dash off, however, I forgot the wires that are connected to all of this, which I'll have to get off later. Also have little connections that are right here, I think the one right here. Basically just pop those off and then you're good to go. So yeah, that concludes a complete dashboard removal. I cracked mine, so you don't have to crack yours. Cracked mine actually in a couple places, including right here, and right here, as well as the screws and wires that connect to the yellow plastics. I did crack a few of those. But yeah, this video is to prevent you from doing the same thing. Just make sure to disconnect all your wires and whatnot. And I'm gonna have to take these away so I can put them back on my car later. But yeah, hopefully this helps somebody. This was definitely a process for me, but now on to better things.